And right now we're going to be getting the latest from ABC News Chief National Correspondent Matt Gutman, who joins us live from Utah. Matt, can you hear me?
I can, Whoopi.
Okay, babe. There is a massive manhunt still going on now. We just got an update from law enforcement this morning. What is the latest?
You know, Whoopi, when we arrived here late last night, this place was swarming with law enforcement. And when we got here very early this morning, everybody was gone. And now we understood why. Law enforcement says that they have good video footage of the suspect, and they are zeroing in on him. They basically have him from the moment he arrived here on campus at 11:52 a.m. yesterday, 18 minutes before Charlie Kirk was shot. They have surveillance video showing him going into the building, up a stairwell, on top of the roof, taking that perch from which he took that shot, then getting up, scampering off the roof, jumping off of it, and going into a nearby neighborhood. They say he dropped this high-powered bolt-action rifle that he was using, and they are now using witness testimony, any surveillance video they have to try to narrow down who this guy is. One interesting thing, they said that this suspect blended into the college community. They're not saying that he was a college student, but certainly a younger male, and that's who they're looking for right now very intensely.
Oh, first they had an older guy. But that was, so is there any connection on the scene about further violence, or is this being investigated as a regular, singular, rather targeted attack?
That's exactly right, Joy. I mean, they're saying that this is a singular targeted attack, that Charlie Kirk was the target, a single shot taken, a fatal shot, and that there was no additional threat to the community. But last night, when we got here, there was a young woman who we interviewed who was just underneath that shooter, heard that crack of the shot, and she was standing here terrified to go to her car. That's the kind of reign of terror that was hanging over this community last night. It's a little bit better right now, but certainly lots of fear here overnight.
Matt, this is Sunny. We know the FBI is working with local authorities on this matter. How are they coordinating to find this suspect?
Sunny, overnight there were a couple of cases of mistaken identity. Kash Patel, the FBI director, announced that 2 people had been taken into custody, then announced that they were released. But it now seems that the FBI and local law enforcement are coordinating, and they do seem to be working in great concert right now. The thing that really stood out from this press conference a short time ago is how absolutely determined they are to find and apprehend this suspect, who they say violated Charlie Kirk's right to live, property, but also First Amendment rights, and this is a national threat to the country, they said. So they are very adamant on getting this person. It seems confident that they are getting closer.
And Matt, it's Alyssa. Listen, there's still a lot we don't know, but the suspect they're looking for, it seems that there may have been a level of sophistication or proficiency, the one shot fired that ended up proving to be a deadly shot. What is law enforcement saying about what we know about the suspect?
I mean, I think that's exactly right, Alyssa. We're talking about a capable shooter who was perched several stories above where Charlie Kirk was. A distant shot, not a really far shot, but a difficult shot under tremendous pressure. Also, the angle was strange because of the overhang of the tent under which Charlie Kirk sat. So someone who was proficient with a high-powered rifle, but also that's not all that unusual in the United States. There are hundreds of millions of firearms in this country. We're here in Utah, where many people hunt, many people are capable hunters and know how to hide themselves, how to conceal. So it's not entirely unusual, but clearly this was someone who was comfortable using this high-powered weapon and used it, obviously, to deadly and catastrophic effect.
Hi, Matt, it's Sarah. We've heard widespread condemnation from politicians on both sides of the aisle. Kirk's events typically drew people of all political persuasions. So what are you hearing as you talk to people who were actually there yesterday?
You know, you mentioned it at the start of the show that Charlie Kirk would sit there and his tent literally says, "Prove me wrong." He was into debate. And so people are feeling the sense of revulsion here. You know, we've spoken to a bunch of people who were witnesses standing just 15 to 20 feet away, who saw that bullet go through his neck, who saw the blood, saw him carried off, and yet they say they're not only praying for Kirk and his family and for this country, but also that this assailant will come forward, and they say this is simply not the way to deal with it. There cannot be more political violence in this country. That's what we've seen here locally, but we've also been reading what's going on social media, and there are some very scary tweets being put out by very prominent people. So obviously this is a period of intense turmoil and fear in this country, Sarah.
Well, maybe the thing we have to remember, everybody, is that there's a family grieving right now, grieving their loved one before anything else.
And they're here in Salt Lake, Whoopi.
Yeah, that's the thing I want to put front and center in everybody's mind. This was a horrific thing, but now there are people who have been left behind, and we need to make sure that we get them where they need to be. Matt, thank you so much for coming and talking to us.